This is Finance Arcana, and today, on episode 5 of Forbidden History, we are breaking down the Soviet Union financial meltdown, the collapse no one saw coming, and trust me, this story is wild. Huge stakes, insane twists, and a truth about global money that almost nobody talks about. Let us jump straight in. What if I told you the Soviet Union did not collapse only because of politics? It collapsed because of a financial time bomb buried so deep inside the system that even the Kremlin could not see it. A shadow debt spiral, a broken currency, and an economic illusion that fooled the world for almost 70 years. Shock data. In 1985, the Soviet government hid an internal budget deficit larger than many Western economies. By 1991, the ruble lost more than 99% of its real value. Workers were paid in money that could not buy basic food. Factories produced goods that nobody wanted. And one question remained. How does a superpower die? Not with war, but with a balance sheet. So here's the mystery. What exact financial trigger shattered an empire that controlled 1/6 of the earth? What crack opened the door to the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War? And more importantly, could a modern superpower be walking the same path right now?
The world of the Soviet Union was built on central planning. Targets replaced incentives. Quotas replaced prices. And ideology replaced mathematics. The currency looked strong on paper, but it floated on fiction. The government controlled everything. Wages, production, energy, banking, agriculture. Nothing moved without political approval. Yet on the surface, it looked stable. Low unemployment, massive factories, a military that rivaled the United States. But under the surface, the system was rotting. There were no real market signals, no real profit and loss, no accurate accounting. Productivity was falling year after year. Energy exports carried the entire economy. A shock in oil prices could knock the whole structure sideways. Why should modern viewers care? Because every financial collapse begins the same way. When a system hides the truth long enough, the truth eventually destroys the system. And the Soviet Union hid everything. At the center stood the Politburo, the secretive committee that directed every major economic decision. They were not bankers. They were not market analysts. They were political survivors. Every report was filtered through ideology. Then came Gosplan, the central planning agency. These were the architects of the command economy. They set production quotas for steel tractors, wheat shoes, every detail of daily life. Yet their data was flawed because factory directors lied outward to avoid punishment. The third key actor was the shadow energy network. Pipeline ministers, war chiefs, and gas directors controlled the only real source of hard currency. Without oil exports, the Soviet Union could not buy green, could not import technology, and could not support its foreign allies. Finally, there was the silent giant, the Soviet military-industrial complex. It absorbed an enormous share of national resources. It demanded constant expansion even when the civilian economy was starving. These players built a machine that could not slow down without collapsing. Warning signs appeared early. Growth rates fell. Agricultural failures multiplied. Factories wasted vast amounts of raw materials. But the system responded with denial. Officials hid bad numbers. Managers inflated output reports. Politicians insisted the 5-year plans were working. By the late 1970s, the Soviet Union depended almost entirely on oil exports to stay solvent. When oil prices collapsed in the mid-1980s, the government lost its main source of revenue. Foreign reserves evaporated. Budget deficits exploded. Internally, shops emptied. Waiting lines stretched around blocks. Inflation grew, but was hidden because prices were officially fixed. Real purchasing power collapsed, but nobody could say it publicly. The pressure kept rising. Bills were not being paid. Factories were producing worthless inventory. The currency was losing credibility. But the leadership insisted everything was stable. The first real crack came when oil prices crashed in 1986. Suddenly, the Soviet government could not fund its global obligations. Arms support for allies strained the budget. Imports became harder to afford. Domestic industries began to halt. Then came the internal budget numbers. For the first time, economists discovered that the Soviet deficit was not millions, but tens of billions. The ruble was backed by almost nothing. Production figures were exaggerated. Exports were falling. The government faced a liquidity crisis it could not admit. This was the first domino. A hidden fiscal collapse that rippled into every sector. The empire had entered a countdown it could not reverse. Behind the scenes, a hidden force accelerated the downfall. The dual currency system. The official exchange rate claimed 1 ruble was worth almost $1. But the real black market value collapsed to pennies. This gap became a financial black hole. Foreign trade agencies manipulated the rate. Insiders profited. Hard currency leaked out of the country. The government lost control of its own monetary system. Another hidden actor was the shadow debt. State enterprises kept off-book obligations. Regional governments printed money quietly to pay wages. Credit expanded far beyond official limits. The system looked structured from the outside. Inside, it was chaos. In 1989, the Warsaw Pact began to fracture. Satellite states resisted control. The Soviet budget bled money to maintain influence. Foreign reserves dropped sharply. In 1990, Gorbachev attempted economic reforms. But reforms exposed the truth. Factories revealed real losses. National output plunged. Republics demanded independence. Food shortages intensified. Banks faced liquidity pressures. Confidence evaporated. In 1991, the ruble collapsed. Inflation surged. People rushed to convert savings into anything with real value. Foreign investors fled. The economy spiraled downward faster than the government could respond. The fatal flaw was simple. The Soviet system had no mechanism for accurate pricing. Without price signals, the economy produced the wrong goods at the wrong time, in the wrong quantities. Correction was impossible. As revenue collapsed, the government printed more money. As money supply expanded, inflation accelerated. As inflation rose, workers demanded higher wages. Higher wages forced more printing. A classic self-reinforcing spiral. Powerful actors miscalculated. The Politburo believed national unity would hold. Gorbachev believed gradual reform would work. The military believed resources would always flow to them. None understood how fast a currency collapse can destroy an empire. By late 1991, the Soviet economy entered freefall. Shops stood empty. Savings turned worthless. Industrial output dropped by nearly half. Workers refused wages because they knew salaries could not buy food. Black markets became the real economy. Republics declared independence one by one. The central government lost authority. The ruble imploded. Hyperinflation destroyed what remained of public trust. Winners emerged from the chaos. Insiders with access to hard currency. Future oligarchs who bought state assets for almost nothing. Foreign buyers who seized strategic opportunities. Losers were everyone else. Middle-class citizens wiped out overnight. Pensioners who... The collapse reshaped global economics. Russia entered a decade of depression. Privatization transformed entire industries. Oligarchs rose to power. Foreign influence expanded. Social systems broke down. The world forgot the deeper cause. Not ideology, not diplomacy, but mispriced money and distorted incentives. The financial system behind the Iron Curtain was built on illusions. Once the illusions were exposed, nothing could stop the collapse. Today, similar signals appear in various countries. Mounting sovereign debt, shadow obligations, artificially controlled prices, overdependence on commodity exports, a widening gap between official statistics and real economic health. Global macro investors watch for the same red flags. Currency weakness. Rising deficits. External funding dependence. Declining productivity. Suppressed inflation measures. When these patterns converge, history warns that crisis may follow. The Soviet collapse is a blueprint for what happens when financial truth is buried for too long.
So here's the question. If an empire with nuclear weapons, global influence, and massive resources can fall to hidden financial fractures, what does that say about the fragile world we live in today? What other systems are held together by confidence alone? And what happens when that confidence breaks? The next episode of Forbidden History will go even deeper into the secret forces shaping global money. The past is not dead. It is a warning. Thanks for watching the Soviet Union financial meltdown, the collapse no one saw coming. If this episode blew your mind even a little, smash that like button, share this video with someone who loves crazy finance stories, and hit subscribe so you never miss the next big reveal on Finance Arcana. We have more wild episodes coming in Forbidden History. You will not want to miss them.